Sometimes in history, there's this magic moment. Somebody appears on the scene and everything changes.
I am with you.
We've never seen anything like this.
I will fight for you.
This was a man who's met his destiny.
And I will win for you.
He said he was saved by God in order to make America great again.
His victory was the greatest comeback of all time.
You're watching history, so buckle up.
I don't think the American people have ever seen this before. A government that has moved this quickly and a president that has done so much when it comes to the border and energy and major investments from other countries. It's like warp speed.
47's on a hot streak, bringing head-snapping change to Washington, overwhelming the system with a volcanic eruption of action. Trump has a mandate from the people, and he's using it, and they're just getting started.
President Trump said on the campaign trail, success will be my retribution.
Despite the best efforts of those who would try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation that will always be free.
We're going to have one shot at this, and no other president's going to do what I'm doing.
America's back. Common sense is back. He is keeping his promise to you, the American people.
Inflation is down. Growth is up.
The numbers don't lie. The economy is soaring.
Lowest gas prices in 4 years.
And record tariff revenue.
The USA is on a roll, culminating in the signing of the One Big Beautiful Bill on July 4th.
The Trump economic golden age is full steam ahead.
America is back, thanks to the courage of President Trump, thanks to the leadership of his amazing cabinet, and thanks, of course, to our brave men and women in the United States military.
This is a message to the rest of the world. The days of ripping off America and Americans are officially over.
Between the attacks on Iran's nuke site and the Maduro operation, the U.S. military recruitment at an all-time high.
This president will go down in history as a peacemaking president.
Peace through strength. America's in charge.
And he's just got one filter, and that is America first.
Whatever they're doing, it's working. Zero illegal crossing, drug cartels frustrated, less crime.
We have the most secure border in the history of this nation. If you think we're doing good now, you just wait till this coming year.
The president isn't taking his foot off the gas in 2026.
It's a new year. The stock markets are already making new record highs.
The Trump archives are a series of near impossible feats.
As for the next year, the American people have so much to look forward to. The president will continue to build off of his historic accomplishments.
2025 was setting the table, but the banquet's going to be in 2026.
This is the golden age coming.
He says, make America great again because every American is invited.
My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future because the golden age of America has only just begun.
What up, fools? All right. Let me get... So I've had a lot of questions about why the phrase "it's in the dust." So we'll go over some stuff that I've kind of put together and turn up my mic. All right, let's see. It might be I just have to speak a little louder or pull it closer. Let me check here. Yeah, that should be better now. All right, so where it's, you guys are saying low volume. Let me see. Let me see why it's muted. Oh, it's better now? Okay. All right. So we are going to, yeah, I know I'm going to order a headset. We are going to, what I believe, piece some stuff together. And what got me thinking about all of this is that, and I can't get it out of my head, this Illusion flight. The Pakistani Illusion flight that left about 20 minutes before J.D. Vance and Air Force Two and the follow-on plane left Karachi, Pakistan. And, you know, as I told people, I did not believe for 1 second that the Air Force nor the U.S. Secret Service would allow that plane. People are still saying the volume is too low. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me try. Is this any better? Testing, 1, 2, testing. See if that's any better. Volume test, 1, 2. Good. Better, okay. So, when we were tracking all of this live, you know, I had made the comment that the Air Force and the Secret Service, I don't believe, one, would allow that plane and that plane to, one, be that close, and two, why would the two special air mission planes follow the exact same flight path? And later on, I told you guys that because it was late when that plane took off, that it had landed in Germany. And now I find it very interesting that with Germany, you know, they're basically telling everybody, our military, that, you know, we want you guys out. So what would cause such a dramatic shift? And this is what I believe why we had went into Iran. Some people say, oh, it's about the oil, cutting off China, and all that could be true. But I think the ultimate factor was the Uranium One deal. And so I'm going to go through, because a lot of people hear about Uranium One, but they don't know the whole backstory, what all was being done with this company called Uranium One in Canada. So that's where this all started. So let me pull up this Uranium One sheet. All right. So In 2013, there's a company that's backed by the Russian state called Rosatom. And so basically it's in Russian it would mean like Russian nuclear. And it's backed by the Russian state. Now keep in mind, Russia, just like we do, we have the state actors. We have people within their government that profit immensely from what the state does. So in 2013, Rosatom acquired a Canadian uranium mining company, which is now called Uranium One, which has assets in the U.S. uranium and is key for making nuclear weapons. All right. So what Russia did is, with this company called Uranium One, they had subsidiary companies that was reached in an agreement with the United States that through this deal, Russia was able to own 20% of the U.S. uranium production capacity. But they were only extract about 11% of the total uranium in the U.S. So they have 11% interest in our uranium. This deal also, in the nomenclature, doesn't allow for uranium to be exported at all. So basically, Russia could have a subsidiary company inside of the U.S. to extract the uranium, but the uranium has to stay within the United States, within the confines of our border, and which would also be under the Department of Energy. So they would control every ounce of this uranium. So now we are getting into Obama. Okay? So this agreement was approved by 9 different agencies with the Committee on Foreign Investments, CFIUS, an interagency group that reviews how certain foreign investments can impact national security. The Department of State under Clinton was one of those 9 agencies, I believe, that are all part of this group. So here, I believe the agency is going to be Homeland Security, the State Department, Treasury. I know I have the notes on it further down. But everybody has to check off on this. So when, they call it the Clinton Uranium One deal, in a way that's kind of disingenuous, but how much influence did she have to work these other agencies to approve this deal? Okay. So here is where we get into the controversy of the whole Uranium One. Some investors reportedly donated millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation. Former President Clinton also received a $500,000 check speaking fee in Russia and reportedly met with Vladimir Putin around the time of this deal. So the FBI had looked into the agreement and uncovered that some of the Russian nuclear industry officials were engaged in nefarious dealings, which included extortion, bribery, and kickbacks. Evidence of wrongdoing by Vladimir Makarin, the Russian official overseeing Putin's nuclear expansion in the United States, who was eventually sentenced to prison, was discovered by the FBI before the deal was approved. So the FBI knew about what was getting ready to happen with this deal. So, and all of the member agencies that were involved in approving this agreement knew that the FBI had an ongoing investigation into Uranium One, which was Rosatov. So there was an informant that came up, and this is when I believe Trump was talking about how the Uranium One was the Russian story, not that Vladimir Putin didn't help Trump win the election. Okay? So there was a FBI informant named Douglas Campbell alleged that Moscow paid millions of dollars to a lobbying firm to help Bill Clinton's charities in order to influence Hillary Clinton, who was the former Secretary of State after he came forward. Campbell made these claims in a 10-page statement to the Senate Judiciary Committee, the House Intelligence Committee, House Oversight, and the Government Reform Committee. So I believe this Douglas Campbell was part of the U.S./Rosatom group. So Campbell said that the Russian nuclear officials had told me at various times that they expected APCO to apply a portion of the $3 million annual lobbying fee it received from the Russians to provide in-kind support for the Clinton Global Initiative. So, basically what this whistleblower is saying is, if you help us extract or help us get the approval for us to come in and extract this uranium out of the U.S., have our company, Uranium One, basically process it, then in exchange, we're going to give you $3 million a year. Okay? So, now this is how this contract was designed. The contract called for 4 payments of $750,000 over 12 months. Now, this is from the whistleblower, and he brought in all the documents. APCO was expected to give assistance free of charge to the Clinton Global Initiative as part of their effort to create a favorable environment to ensure Obama administration made affirmative decisions on everything from Uranium One to U.S.-Russian civilian nuclear cooperation agreement. APCO worldwide is a global public affairs consulting agency. All right, so let me get to the key issue at stake is in this investigation are all the intent and knowledge. Was there an intent to influence official business? And if so, did the recipient take the money in exchange for taking official action? And this was the question that was brought to Jaffer. Now, Jaffer was the Department of Justice and the director of the National Security Law and Policy Program. And I believe he was at George Mason University at the Antonin Scalia Law School. So Jaffer said that the credibility of this informant will come into play. All right, so the FBI opens up a 302 on this informant, and they start going in and looking at this person, saying, okay, is this guy credible? All this stuff that he's bringing us. So the main question was this foreign agent, was he a foreign agent or a criminal who turned? That was the big question that was brought to some legal counsel. Now, I don't know if this was legal counsel for the U.S. government or if it was somebody with, I'm guessing it's the National Security, they don't disclose it, but I'm guessing it's the National Security Division of the FBI, their attorneys. So, was this guy a government employee? And all of these factors, plus the level of the informant's access to relevant information, will make the biggest difference. That's basically what he told the FBI. He's within the FBI, but he's in the national security section of the FBI. So here is what all this nonsense has to do with the Russia investigation. So multiple congressional committees, as well as the Department of Justice, were looking into possible Russian collusion in the 2016 elections and the ties between Russia and Trump's campaign. So basically, this is where we start getting the story of Russia, right? And this is when Trump come out with, that's your real story. Not a story whether they talked about collusion and there was none. It was a hoax. Your real story is uranium. And so this is when he was punting back to Hillary Clinton. So Robert Mueller was a special counsel who led the probe into the alleged Russian interference in the election. Was the head of the FBI when it investigated the Rosatom officials, extortion, and corruption. So Mueller was the head of the FBI, and he was investigating Rosatom and all of these oligarchs within Russia who promised to pay the Clinton Foundation. Okay? So, then they appointed him special counsel to investigate this. And then the investigation was led by then the assistant FBI director, Andy McCabe, then U.S. Attorney Ron Rosenstein. Rosenstein was the Deputy Attorney General, McCabe, until last month, which was when this was put out. So, you remember in the audio of Clapper, where he said that Rod Rosenstein was made a promise that if they did the 25th on Trump during the first term, that Mike Pence would select Rod Rosenstein as the VP. This is why. Because of the Uranium One deal. He was the quote-unquote brilliant legal mind behind this. The special prosecutor instructed by the Department of Justice to investigate certain issues pertaining to the Uranium One deal. Congressional committees are looking into whether Mueller informed the Obama administration, particularly those tasked with approving the Uranium One deal, prior to the CFIUS approval. And what CFIUS is the collective group of people within our government, the top government agencies. All of them have to sign off on this. All right. In her attempt to discredit the reports of the controversy surrounding the Uranium One deal, Clinton said Trump and all of his allies are diverting from the investigation, meaning they wanted everybody to believe, and this is all factual, this has all been proven. They wanted everybody to believe that the real story was Putin wanted Trump in there. He didn't want Hillary. So they throw that out. Well, Trump is coming up with this Uranium One story to deflect from the fact that him and Putin are in cahoots. All right. So the closer the investigation got to the real Russian ties between Trump and associates and the real Russians, the more they wanted to just throw mud against the wall, which is what Hillary said. She goes, I'm their favorite target, me and President Obama. Now, that's what she said about the Russians. They wanted to get rid of them. Okay? So now we start moving into how all of this with the Clinton Foundation comes in. So this is what's being charged. Okay, Hillary Clinton sold roughly 20% of the American uranium supply to the Russians in exchange for $145 million in donations to the Clinton Foundation. All right, the Post has a picture of Hillary Clinton saying, I sold 20% of the Americans' uranium to Russia. Then the Russian government gave me $145 million to the Clinton Foundation. Underneath is a picture of Mueller with its text saying, I delivered it. Now, allegedly, this information was then this picture. It was like an internal, haha, we got you, Donald Trump. You're not going to, we cooked this. Okay? So, somebody had leaked this picture because they were holding up like cue cards with this written on it. Okay? Somebody leaked it out of DOJ and put it on Facebook under a false account that was put behind multiple firewalls to, like spoofing IP addresses. Well, that didn't work too well. So the newspapers and all the news media outlets started coming out and stating all this was fake news. This was somebody had made this to smear Hillary before the election and all this other stuff. So as the Secretary of State, Clinton did serve on the government board that ultimately approved a transfer of uranium, but she wasn't the deciding vote. And the Clinton Foundation did receive $145 million from parties involved in the transaction. But the dates of the large share of the donations and the deal don't add up to suggest a quid pro quo. That is what they were claiming. Mueller was the FBI director at the time, and the FBI was investigating the corruption by this Russian company involved in the deal before the transfer was approved. But he played no role in delivering anything that we can find. Now, this is a Politico statement. So, in 2007, a Clinton Foundation donor named Frank Gustiera sold his company called Eurasia, Urasa, to another Uranium One company, and then unloaded his personal stakes in it. The merged company kept Uranium One as its name, and it was based out of Toronto, Canada. Okay, so Canada is going to play a role in this now. Though it was based in Canada, Uranium One has mines, mills, and land in Wyoming, Utah, and other U.S. states equal to about 20% of the U.S. uranium production capacity. Its actual production, though, is actually a smaller portion of the uranium produced in the U.S. at 11%. So basically, you're taking 11% of our total uranium production, and then they were doing 11% of that. They were doing 11% of the total 20%. Okay? Under the terms of the deal, Eurasia shareholders kept a 60% stake in the new company until June 2010, when Russia's nuclear agency, Rosatom, completed the purchase for a 51% stake. So what they did is they created what I called a shell company. The shell company was called Eurasia. All right? So the shareholders kept 60% of the company. That way that they could say, okay, this Canadian company called Uranium One, they own 60%. And the other 40%, we are going to share off. We're going to allow investors to purchase this 40%. What they didn't realize, or maybe they did, that Rosatom completed a purchase of a 51% stake of that 40%. So you have Eurasia holding 60%, Rosatom holding 51% of the 40%. So basically they have 81% of Uranium One. But in order for this to happen, they had to get all of this approved. through these committees in these other agencies. So, as I said earlier, the deal was not Hillary Clinton's to approve by herself. The CFIUS panel, here we go. This is who it included. The Attorney General of the United States, the Secretary of Treasury, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Energy, Secretary of Homeland Security, as well as the heads of the Office of the U.S. Trade Representatives in the Office of Science and Technology Policy. So anytime this is done, these secretaries have to sign off on this. Okay, so basically Hillary was like one of 9 votes in all of this. But were these other, here's the question that I think will soon be answered. Were all of these individuals paid off by, I don't know, the Clinton Foundation or the oligarchs in Russia who were trying to cash in on this? So it is accurate that the 9 individuals related to the company donated to the Clinton Foundation, but the bulk of the money, the $131 million, came from Gustra, which was the guy in Russia. Gustra said he sold off his entire stake in the company in 2007, 3 years before the Russian deal, and about 18 months before Clinton became Secretary of State. Okay? So the FBI then had agents within Russia that went and spoke with this guy. And the donations amount to the Clinton Foundation from Uranium One investors dropped from $145 million to $4 million after the deal was done. Let's see here. So now this is how other people were involved. And I know this is so complex, and I had to go through this about 6 or 7 times in order to see how all these, and I'll explain to you how I think. Now this can't be proven yet, but this is how I think this links Iran into this, and how the pallets of cash link to this Uranium One and Rosatom. Let's see. Let me get down to this section. All right. So this is kind of like a summary, and I know it's a bunch of, factual based, but for some reason, Russia wanted to get control of 20%. Well, let me retract that. 11% of the total 20% of what was being extruded in uranium. So the oligarchs in Russia created shell companies within the United States to buy up these uranium mines, get the leasing, so they can extract it, okay, which was under, at that time, called Uranium One out of Toronto, Canada. Well, what had happened was Russia started to buy stock in Uranium One until they had 100% of the company. And then what they were doing is they wanted to then take that uranium, process it in Canada, and then ship it to whoever needed it. In walks Iran. Iran needs a lot of enriched uranium. Okay? So Russia, being very, very, very close allies with Iran, decided, hey, you guys need enriched uranium. We'll provide it for you, but you have to pay us whatever amount of cash in order for you to get this. And the mullahs wanted this weapon to defeat Israel. Okay, now this is where I'm getting into the theory part. In 2016, in January of 2016, Obama administration transferred $400 million in cash to Iran, which was the first installment of a $1.7 billion settlement intended to resolve a decades-old dispute. All right. And this dispute was over the 1970s, where Iran had purchased military equipment from the U.S. And then the whole hostage thing happened. So the U.S. received the $400 million from Iran to pay for this military equipment. Then we did the embargo on the Islamic State. So that money was kept at Treasury. So the settlement was $1.7 billion. The total included the $4 million or $400 million that we actually received from Iran, plus approximately $1.3 billion in interest. The U.S. government had negotiated this amount to potentially avoid a larger reward at The Hague. And the Iranians had filed this claim in The Hague in the 70s, going into the early 80s. So, people were, we had the hostages over in Iran during the Obama administration. Everybody thought that Obama was paying this money to free these hostages. They were basically, Republicans was calling it a ransom payment, where the Obama administration was like, no, we're just returning the money to the Iranians plus what the interest would have been. So, they openly come out and said, yeah, this is what it's for. It's not for a ransom, which I agree. I don't think it was for a ransom. What I think it was for is they got blackmailed. And the reason this is why I think Iran blackmailed Obama. Because Russia was sending the uranium to Iran. And Iran was running it through the process. Okay? And when they run it through the process, you have like these dust particles. And the dust particles, you can do some type of scientific whatever, and you can find out where exactly that uranium came from. Well, now this is, I was told this about a week ago. Can't confirm it, but I was told that the Israelis had created 2 secret bases, military bases within Iraq, and we fully knew about it. And they had set up kind of like a processing center for Sierra McCall and our special forces to go into Iran. Now, this is prior to us attacking Iran. Okay? This is prior to Israel and Iran start shooting back and forth. And I think this is what caused it. Is the Iranians found out through some Iraqi proxies that Israel had created 2 bases within Iraq to basically extract a sample of this uranium. And when the processing was done, I'm guessing the Israelis reported back to the United States that this came from your country. This came from the United States. So I would guess that in order for us to double check to make sure that, Israel isn't trying to get us to basically go full bore on Iran, they probably had our military, special ops, whether it was SEAL Team 1, SEAL Team 6, Delta, whoever went in to get the soil samples and all this other stuff and get the uranium, a sample of the uranium that they were using. And they flew it back to, I guess, Fort Detrick in Maryland at the Army labs. And they tested it. And it come back that what the Israelis reported was true. This uranium was mined from Montana. So during that, who was in charge of that mine in Montana? Well, it was Rosatom, or Uranium One, however you want to look at it. So once the testing come back, now they already had the information, probably through wiretaps, signals intelligence, 302s that were hidden. Remember all these mysterious hidden burn bags? And so now, okay, we have the proof that our uranium is sitting in Iran. So now this leads up to this impromptu meeting in Pakistan with the United States and with the Iranians, hosted by Pakistan. Because I think Pakistan was given an ultimatum too. And that ultimatum was, Pakistani government, you guys aided and abetted the #1 world terrorist in the world by the name of Osama bin Laden. We had to fly into your country because you knew he was there. He was on a military base. You guys allowed him to do it. We did you a favor. Our military did you a favor by not dropping the big one on you. So this is what you're going to do. You are going to facilitate us getting this uranium out of Iran. You're going to fly one of these illusions into Iran right behind our Air Force 2. Or, yeah. Well, the Pakistanis, because you had to have like a neutral player. Pakistan and Iran are okay, kind of. But I believe Trump had told the Iranian government through Pakistan, you know, they set something up. I don't know how. I have an idea how they did it or how they covered this, but somehow they were able to get this Pakistani Aleutian plane into Iran to get this uranium. And they flew it out. And when they flew it out, they ended up flying it to Germany. Okay? So now you have proof that, and this is where I'm getting into the theory part of this. You have proof that somehow the Iranians have uranium from the United States. And we can prove that through basically chemical testing, forensic testing of that particular uranium. Because my understanding is it's kind of like, it's like a fingerprint, right? All of it is unique to certain parts of the world, you know, based on whatever. So now we have this proof. Well, now we got to say, how in the hell did Iran get a shitload of uranium from Wyoming? Well, who mined it in Wyoming? Uranium One. Well, Uranium One was then bought out by Rosatom. Rosatom, their oligarchs, their chair people, donated all this money to the Clinton Foundation, $145 million, that the U.S. Treasury has confirmed in front of Congress. I mean, this was all out there in the open. Well, why would Russia why would they sell it to Iran? Well, they're allies. Iran wanted it. They were going to pay a pretty penny for it because, you know, they have oil money. So Russia was in some financial dire straits. They could use the money. They have the uranium. Let's sell this. And then when Obama and them started putting pressure on Iran through the sanctions, the Iranians come out and said, you know what? We want $1.7 billion. Figure it up however you want. Call it whatever you want. But if we don't get $1.7 billion, we are going to expose you guys as selling us this uranium through Russia. And they couldn't let that out because I believe the intention was for Iran to blow the shit out of Israel and some of their other Middle Eastern people. Now, I have heard allegedly that the uranium is back in the U.S. When or if that is going to be revealed, I believe is going to come out when they start doing the corruption and possible treason, sedition charges against Hillary, not so much Bill, but probably Bill, because, you have you have all these legal issues with him going to Russia and giving these speeches and how much money he was getting. But with Obama, they said all roads lead to Obama, and I think this is what they mean. And there was just a story about it, and I had it in, where I was going to go with this, and I lost train of thought. But it'll come to me. But I mean, are you guys kind of getting where all of this? I know it's kind of, in a sense, it's kind of hard to follow. Like I said, I went through these documents about 7 times, and basically what I did is I just did like a chart, putting who, what, when, where. Here's the other thing. Okay, they sent all this cash to Iran. Why did the people within the government, why did they empty out all the banks in D.C., Virginia, and Maryland? Why did it have to be? I mean, it wasn't just U.S. currency. It was euros, it was francs. They gathered every damn dollar that they could get to make it, and they needed it quick. Why did you need it so quick? Well, because I think they were getting ready to extort the Obama administration and put it out there. Oh, she sold this shit to us. I know that violates some U.S. law. But here's the other thing that I find very interesting, and I remembered my thought about Obama. Remember when I was telling you guys that when Biden was in office and Trump was meeting with all of these world leaders and government officials at Mar-a-Lago, and I kept telling people this violates the Logan, the Hatch Act, all of this stuff. And I was like, if Congress really wanted to nail Trump, this is where they could get him. Well, now all of a sudden, the DOJ and some congressional members, and now Trump, I think Trump posted it a little bit ago, wanting to know why Obama is meeting with people in Europe, world leaders, and why is he violating the Logan Act and the Hatch Act? So somebody is setting the stage for what I think is going to be exposed, and why we are actually doing all of this inside of Iran, because I do believe Iran was probably going to drop the big one on Israel. And now we have, all of these, because I'm still trying to figure out what would cause all of a sudden the Europeans to start sending ships to the Gulf. Now, granted, yes, they get a lot of their oil from there, but it would be cheaper if they were to work some type of deal with Russia, because now all of a sudden it's coming out that, and they even had it on Ukrainian TV, that Putin and Zelensky, this war could be over. And basically, Putin said on Russia 24 that, yeah, this is going to be wrapped up. This is going to be done here real quick. So why wouldn't the European Union negotiate a deal to get natural gas and oil from Russia rather than shipping it all the way from the Middle East? So, and this is how I think, this is why I believe they had the King of England summoned to the White House. There's something there. But this here, trying to understand this, there's so many tentacles in this. I mean, when I started going through, and I remember hearing it at the time, but Rod Rosenstein, you know, he was an integral part in this. And then during that interrogation audio that we listened to, and you had Mike Pence telling the Secret Service that, and other investigatorial agencies, that, oh yeah, and Rod Rosenstein was going to be made the vice president after they did the 25th on Trump. Now you know why. It's because they orchestrated this deal for all of these politicians and the oligarchs inside of Russia to get very rich very quick. So, and in other news, I don't know if you guys had listened to Liberty earlier. It looks like Keir Starmer is going to be ejected as Prime Minister probably within the next 3 or 4 hours, because they are holding Parliament, and they're going through the votes, and apparently his party's turning on him. So I don't know if they're going to try to get somebody else in there that's a little bit more radical, or if the meeting that Trump had with the king, now granted, the king he's the monarch, he really can't technically influence Parliament, but if you have the king saying that you're done, you're probably done. Yeah, Libya, that's going to be another show that we'll do, going into to the whole Libya, and yeah, there's a lot with that. And I personally don't believe they had to get rid of Muammar Gaddafi, because I don't think he was the boogeyman that, you know, they played him out to be. But this here is why one of the biggest reasons why I think that we're going to do this to Iran. And now that allegedly we got the proof back in the United States, you know, this is going to be entered into the proceedings. And I also was told that there were numerous truck drivers and pilots that had been disposed by, we'll just say, a court, and that was involved in flying this money, collecting this money, truck drivers who hauled it from different banks. So this You know, they say it's not the crime, it's the cover up. Well, I mean, this is ginormous that I believe is going to once again probably prove Trump correct, but I think, Trump already knew because whoever within the military was giving them information to for the quote unquote plan. But so I mean, I know this is kind of all of this is there's so many tentacles to this. I mean, once you start like going at the DOJ angle and Robert Mueller and Rod Rosenstein, I mean, these guys were all getting millions of dollars in this deal. And they were selling the country out. They didn't care. They just wanted the riches. They don't care. Their greed got them. And you got, people within this chat that actually give two shits about the country. These people, I don't think, give two shits about the country. They just want to see how many zeros they can get in their bank account. Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot. Look, I think after Sunday, I think the fire hose is coming open. I think Trump wants to do this National Day of Prayer. He's going to, give his speech and give hopefully give people some spiritual hope, because I think our whole country needs it, to be honest with you. Now, we're at May 17th. All right, so next Sunday is May 17th. June, July. So there is a post in that letter in the alphabet that says done in 30. So I am guessing at this, totally 100% spitballing this. They want something done in 30. We have July 4th coming up. So is something major going to be announced or released on June 4th? To where whatever is announced on June 4th, it has to be done in 30. That's what I think. I there's something, to this. I find it very coincidental that they picked May 17th of all Sundays. I mean, you have 52 Sundays in a year, and you're going to pick one that ends in 17. Yeah. I mean, could it be 30 months? Could it be 30 years? You're right. I don't know. I think it's more 30 days, but I could be wrong. But for this section, you guys have any questions with this? I know it's so hard to, like I said, there's so many tentacles with this. I had to go over these documents, and mostly all these documents are available on DOJ's website. I'm also hearing that there are rumors that Ilhan Omar is going to be expelled from Congress, along with Jayapal. I think Jayapal's fucked. And I think she knows it because of the statements that she made on the House floor. That she was aiding and abetting in Cuba getting sanctioned oil. And so, all right. So with this, I am going to sign off on this one. And what I'm going to do is I will bring up the regular EAM watch and everything, probably run that all night. And because basically Iran had, in case you guys didn't hear earlier, Iran sent a response back to the White House and basically told Trump to go pound salt. And earlier today, there was a lot of EAM traffic going back and forth. So I believe we are going to probably lay some more hate, because now I haven't seen pictures. No one can produce pictures that I've seen. But allegedly there is a boomer that was seen going through near Spain in Straits of Gibraltar. Now, people have been able to show me different photos of the French ships and all of that. They're not able to show a picture of a boomer. And a boomer, I even heard one person say, well, the reason there's no photo out there is because it's underwater. You're an idiot. Because on a boomer, when you're surfaced, you still have about 40 feet underwater. So there's no way that thing was submerged going through the straits. So I'm not entirely convinced, but I'll just take it that naturally I'm sure we have one over there, probably more than one. But all right, guys, I'm going to shut this one down, and I will bring up the nightly stream with the EAMs and that, so you guys can continue trying to break one-arm Gracie in here. So, all right, with that, I will talk to you guys shortly.